Ladies and gentlemen, wellness warriors, certified overthinkers, and in general, beautiful people, welcome to Bargain Brand Wellness, where self-care is on clearance and we hydrate, meditate, and speculate like it's a competitive sport. I'm your host, Tim, your hype man and the human embodiment of a buy one, get one deal on emotional growth. Around here, we keep it low cost and high vibe with a little wellness, a little weirdness, and a whole lot of wondering what Freud would say about that dream you had last night. So grab your herbal tea, your overpriced water bottle, and your barely charged phone. We're diving into off-brand thoughts, unpacking a few feelings, and laughing our way straight into the Wellness Hall of Fame. This is Bargain Brand Wellness. Let's make it worth your wellness. Glad to have you all. Welcome. See, we got a few viewers here already. How's it going, Yosef? Let's go. I knew you wouldn't let me down. Channing, I'm pretty sure you bought me this shirt. So, I will say there's like a 20-second delay. So if I don't respond to your chats right away, I'll definitely make sure to get to them as quickly as possible. So on today's episode, we're going to talk about the state of self-care, right? Hakuna Matata, right? It means no worries for the rest of your days. But I wanted to talk about self-care this afternoon a little bit, kind of the state of self-care, right? You know, right now it kind of seems like we're all running on caffeine, Wi-Fi, or whatever, helps us keep our focus. Self-care has kind of almost become a buzzword, right? You know, everything's labeled as self-care, and don't get me wrong, it's not a bad thing at all. But it can turn easily into, something as along the lines of lighting a candle, taking a bubble bath, and narrating it like it's a cooking show. Now we're adding a little, just a pinch of Epsom salt. Look at that soak. Or giving yourself a performance review as if you were your own toxic boss. Strengths, persistence, and snacks. Areas for improvement. Stop talking to your cat like he's your therapist. Right? That's self-care. Self-care isn't making a gratitude list, but only including things that are slightly inconvenient and a little sarcastic. Thank you, long red light, for forcing me to take a long, deep breath. And doing yoga poses while narrating them like a sports announcer. And Tim moves into a downward dog with the grace of a confused octopus. Incredible core engagement. Is that actually self-care? I don't know. Let's see. We got some other chats in here. There's my lady, Miss Moffat. Hope you're enjoying retirement. Glad to have you on here. Ashley, thank you for being here. And my wonderful aunt, Deborah. Deborah, hello. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate it. So is that self-care? I mean, it's one of those things. We're going to kind of jump into it a little bit more. Right. Self-care versus self-indulgence. Self-care isn't always a spa day, although this can be nice at times, right? Are you screaming therapy in the forest with your friends? Yes, group screaming is a real thing. People gather in parks to release stress by howling like banshees. It's like primal therapy, but with more snacks afterwards. Yeah, screaming therapy. I've heard of people screaming into pillows, but never really in a forest. I'm too worried someone might scream back. Ice baths. Submerging in an ice bath while reciting positive affirmations such as cold plunges. Already intense, right? I am calm. I am powerful. Between gasping, it's equal parts self-care and psychological warfare with yourself. I'm not gonna lie, I really wanted to get a one of those cold plunge ice baths. I know a guy at work had one and really swore by it. I don't think he's been using it much, but I've heard that it does wonders for your mental health. But even for those who still do it, every day is a struggle to get into it. But I wouldn't mind one of those myself. Other examples, watching 8 hours of slime at ASMR videos. I've never done the ASMR thing. I know a lot of people do that one. I don't think it's totally absurd, but it's a little strange. And the ASMR videos that I have come across almost came across as a little erotic, I guess is the word I'm kind of looking for. Yeah, and then cow cuddling, right? It's apparently a legit therapy practice. For $75 an hour, you can snuggle a giant moo machine and apparently feel very seen. I have heard about this one as well. For cows that are kind of kept almost like pets, people really love hugging on them because they said the one thing you can do is whenever you get those, you know, those little moments like where you just want to squeeze life out. It's just so cute. You want to squeeze it. You can do that to a cow. It's what, 600 pounds, I don't know, 800 pounds. And it can handle, there's no amount of force that you can provide that's going to harm that cow. So apparently cow cuddling is also a real thing. Ice bath. What about hot tub? Sounds much nicer. It's definitely a lot more relaxing. I won't lie. I'm someone who does occasionally enjoy soaking in a nice hot bath with a little bit of Epsom salt, a little bit of, you know, nice little candle, lavender maybe. I don't drink anymore, else I would have said a glass of champagne, but hey. Yeah, I mean, the hot baths are definitely much more relaxing, but yeah, no, the ice bath, I wouldn't mind trying it. I did I tried doing just an ice cold shower one time, and I couldn't take it. I couldn't stand it. It was too difficult. I couldn't force myself. The one thing with self-care is it's short-term gains, right? Short-term gains to get long-term wins. I have a really great video example that I'd like to share with you all that kind of expresses what we're talking about here. Sorry about that. So if you've never seen this before, it's just an idea of how, you know, the smallest, you know, little micro domino can kind of affect, you know, something much larger.
Everybody knows about plant.
I'm going to turn the volume off. He's not really saying anything worth noting. And so you'll notice in the video, I mean, he's taking this tiny little domino that's got, I mean, he's using a pair of tweezers to put it on the ground. And each domino is about half the size of the one in front of it. Right? And you've probably seen something like this before, but it's still kind of surprising when you think about it that the string of chaos, I guess you could say, that occurs once you push over one domino. Yeah, just the chain reaction is just, it's remarkable. So those are just some of those examples of those little wins, right? You know, even if it's something along the lines of, you know, getting, you know, not hitting the snooze button, right? You know, you've been telling yourself, you know, I want to get up in the morning, I want to get more motivated, so I get up and I move. You know, having, one less cup of coffee if you're trying to cut back on caffeine, right? Those little wins, they may not feel like much. I'm not going to tell you tomorrow that you're going to feel better, right? I can tell you I'm someone, you know, wellness is my thing, which is why I started this channel. I struggle on a daily basis, right? I was just telling my wife earlier today that, lately I get up about 5:30, 5:45 in the morning to go to the gym before I go to work. And every morning there's that ego part in the back of my brain that's telling me, just go ahead and stay in bed. Stay in bed. You can go to the gym tomorrow. It's not going to go. You're 42 years old. You can forgive yourself. It's okay. And I literally have to kind of look at myself or kind of tell myself, like, stop being excuse my language, stop being a bitch and get up and get moving. The worst part is once I'm up and moving, I start to feel a little bit better. Once I get to the gym, I start to feel even a little bit better. Halfway through my workout, I start feeling just a little bit better. By the time I'm finished my workout, I feel really good. And by the time I get to work and finish my shower and I'm ready to work, I feel great. And I'm glad I got up and went. But it all starts with that. Within that first 2 minutes of me waking up, that basically, it makes or breaks my day. All right. So give yourself credit for those daily wins, but also understand that it takes those little small bits and pieces to get to where you need to be, right? Don't expect to just see immaculate results right away. Hitting the snooze. Yeah, Joey. I haven't been a snoozer in a long time. At my previous employer, prior to working for the Department of Juvenile Services, I used to work in the restaurant business, and I got moved to the early shift. And when I say early shift, I'm talking like opening the restaurant at like 5:30 in the morning. And I used to be a snoozer until one time I hit that snooze button, and apparently I turned my alarm off, went back to sleep. I ended up being late for work, and I was probably only 10 or 15 minutes late. But my anxiety, which we're going to talk about here in a little bit, was so rampant. I felt like I had to spend the rest of the day. I would have worked 16 hours if they asked me to, because I felt so bad for being that 10 or 15 minutes late. Now, that's me. I'm not expecting anybody else to kind of be at that level. But yeah. So I haven't been a snoozer for a long time. I'm actually usually able to wake up well before my alarm even goes off. Hey Marita, how's it going? Thanks for being here. I feel better after I hit the gym too. Another name I give to the bathroom. Not quite sure what you mean by that one, Joey. So yeah, so give yourself credit for those little wins. Another type of self-care that many of us struggle with are on setting boundaries. Right? Setting boundaries. It's okay to say no. Boundaries aren't walls. They're fences with gates. You get to decide who goes in and who goes out. No is a complete sentence and also a wellness ritual. Every time you say no without over-explaining, a stressed-out version of you gets their wings. Protecting your peace is not selfish, it's spiritual hygiene. You wouldn't let someone track mud through your house. Don't let them stomp through your mental health either. Right? That boundaries piece is really hard. Many of us are people pleasers. I can't talk today. We're always afraid that someone's going to be upset with us if we tell them no. We're always told to be more positive, right? Our automatic answer shouldn't be no to everything. It should be yes, right? Be more positive. But that's not always the case, right? Any of us who are dealing with children, it's a lot easier to start with a no, because you can turn a no into a yes. Whereas it's really difficult to turn a yes into a no. Once you got someone in that yes, it's happening. It's kind of hard to break their heart a little bit. I mean, don't get me wrong. You do what you got to do, but it is difficult. Is that for our personal life or our work life? Yes. It's not either or. It's for both. All right. If you're asking about the professional boundaries, or not just professional boundaries, just boundaries in general, it's not easy. Now, I'm not telling you to not not do your job, right? If you're talking about within your workplace, hey, I gotta set, Tim told me on his podcast that or his live stream that I gotta set boundaries. So no, I'm not gonna turn in that report. Now, if it's part of your job, you still got to do that. But think to yourself, I mean, and for those of you who are on here, you can put it in chat, what are those moments, if you have any, or you can keep it to yourself and just think about it. What are some of those moments where it's not outside of your duty, job or personal, to say no to someone, right? It's not an easy thing to do, because we want to make sure we maintain our relationships. But, relationships are a two-way street. So the way I've always seen this is, if someone gets upset with you for trying to maintain some of these boundaries, even if you did allow that thing to happen for a period of time, it's whatever. How strong was that relationship? Did that person have your best interest at heart, or were they taking advantage of you? I'm not saying that they were, but it's just something to kind of consider, right? I think we should get training hours for watching this mental health awareness training. I love it. I'll set it up, Joey. We'll get you. We'll give you guys an hour of credit for being here today. And that was my thing when I did this. Because I am a trainer by profession, although there might be aspects of this feels like I'm kind of teaching people stuff. I guess I kind of do have that natural ability. I don't want it to feel like a training for those who know me. I guess for anybody who joins us that doesn't know me, maybe it'll be a little bit more refreshing. But yeah, my thoughts are, it depends on who we as humans are dealing with that at a certain time. Absolutely, Marita. It definitely, your priorities change, right, over time. What you might be in a really good place at one time in your life to where maybe you can allow some of those boundaries to bend, because the other person might need you a little bit more. The question you have to ask is that reciprocated? Is that other person then also willing to then give back to the relationship? All right. So setting boundaries is tough. I read a book recently. I didn't even think to pull it out, but it's a book on setting boundaries by a lady named Nedra Tawwab. It's kind of spelled weird. My therapist had recommended it. Really good book about setting boundaries. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you have someone in your life, personal or professional, probably personal, that you feel like you need to set those boundaries with, I'm going to tell you right now, they're probably going to give you pushback. If they're taking advantage of that boundary that's being violated, they're going to give you pushback. So I kind of just like to prepare people for that. That's just kind of the way people are, unfortunately. You could be a contracted trainer and get paid by the state. Possibly. Moving on, self-care with awareness. Man, I wish I could get this timer to stop popping up. Self-care starts with awareness. When you are overly stressed, right, and your boundaries are being violated, your body gives you signals, right? Being stressed, have you ever had really tight shoulders, right? Feeling like you're carrying more than just your laptop. Right. This tension's usually from stress, not just bad posture. Right. It's the body's way of saying you might be internalizing your to-do list again. Bad posture is one thing. Many of you know that, within my work, I usually work at a standing desk, which I highly prefer. I'd love to have one here. I may eventually set one here in my home office as well. But those tight shoulders, right? Tight shoulders. You can really feel that tension when you're super, super stressed. Jaw clenching or teeth grinding. That's your body's version of basically being in fight mode. Even if the only thing you're kind of attacking is just the air that you breathe. I know that when I'm tensed, I feel it in my jaw, and I have to actually kind of take awareness and actually take a moment to recognize that I'm really tense right now. I tend to get locked. I don't want to say it's locked jaw, but I tend to get pain in my jaw. Stomach issues or loss of appetite. Heavily associated with stress, especially if you don't really have the best of diets, right? Your gut is your second brain. And if it's overwhelmed, right, those vibes are off. Your digestive system files for basically paid time off, right? It says, I'm checking out. I'm out of here. Issues with sleep, right? They say you're supposed to get 8 hours of sleep every night. You know, some of us can operate on less, 7, 6 hours, maybe more. I'd love to get more than 8 hours of sleep once. I wish I could sleep, and I'm just not one of those people, unfortunately. But it's not just you being tired, right? Even if you are getting the 8 hours of sleep, that can oftentimes be from stress. You wake up and no amount of caffeine in the world is going to change how you feel. So it's just something else to kind of keep in mind. Do you find yourself you're just happen to be in the right or wrong frame of mind, randomly crying during a certain song, right, or a certain commercial just kind of hits you, right? It's basically your emotional tank being full, which isn't always necessarily from stress. You could be going through some sort of loss or some sort of process, but a lot of the times that's really related to stress and your emotional tank being full. If that's happening, it might be time to journal, talk to someone, and vent, or shout into a pillow, right? Whatever makes you happy. When I'm stressed, I vent verbally using many no words. Marita, I never would have guessed that you like to talk. I never would have guessed that. It pays to have a listener. Yes, it does. It definitely does. And the question is, who is that listener in your life? Hopefully it's someone close, but if it's someone really close, you have to make sure that they're able to mentally kind of handle the load that you're kind of putting on them. Because if not, it can be overwhelming for them and cause stress for that person. In your intimate relationships, it's called sliming. I kind of researched that one up a little bit. It's kind of a weird term, but it's basically whenever that other person, your significant other, you almost kind of need to check in with them in order to before you kind of unload all that on them. Irritability is another example of your body telling you, like, hey, we need to do a check. If you're yelling at a sock for simply slipping off your foot, it's not about the sock, right? It's basically saying that your bandwidth is being busted. So anytime you find yourself getting really upset with inanimate objects, right, it's probably not about that object. There's something else going on in your life. And then kind of the last one, or not really the last one, just kind of the last one on my list, is tension headaches, right? Or eye twitching. I know I'll get eye twitching if I'm super stressed out. Basically, your brain is sending notification that you need a break, you need hydration, a 5 minutes just kind of screaming against a pillow, or you're basically your computer's froze and you need to do a hard reset. Right? I call no word sentence enhancers. I've heard that one before as well. I mean, they basically are an adjective. And those no words, while typically inappropriate, do have an impact. They do have an impact when used in moderation. If you ever dealt with someone who that's all they ever do, they just cuss left and right, it loses its effect, right? But if you're someone who rarely cusses, or people know you to cuss only when you're really mad or disappointed, they take you more seriously. So yeah. No words in moderation. All right, I try not to use them, but they slip. Nobody's. What is it? Po Buddy's Nerfect. You ever heard that one for fans of The Office? Po Buddy's Nerfect. So I know we have a few people in here, and I see you sharing how when you get stressed, but if you guys don't mind, for those of you who are in here, I know it looks like there's about 3 of you in here right now. How do you take care of yourself? Joey says, I tense up sometimes if there's somebody driving the van erratically and I'm in the passenger seat. I have to tell myself to loosen up. That can be tough because I don't know how everyone drives on your team, but I'm sure some of them aren't the greatest drivers. I see some pictures of the potential accidents that may or may not have happened. So yeah, think about what you do for self-care. If it works for you, keep doing it. See if there's something else that you're able to kind of add on to that. Because I don't think there's an over amount of self-care you can do, especially if it's lacking a little bit. But also give yourself credit. Don't be too hard on yourself. We live in a tough world where sometimes it's just easier to indulge, right? I go to therapy. Listen, actually, I'm right there with you. I've been in therapy for about 3 years now, and I just talked with my therapist. We're going to start kind of cutting my sessions back a little bit. I think it's time. I definitely feel cured, right? I know I'm being funny, but I think it's time to start, working my way back. I don't feel like there's much more that I can kind of get. There's times where I'll have a session and I don't really know what to talk about. Joey says, I play video games. Joey, I love that one. I really do. Unfortunately, I don't have as much time to play video games as I used to. I've had a couple people ask with this channel if I'll ever do gaming on here. I may occasionally. I don't have the time to play video games between work and school and doing any extra stuff. I don't know. Most of these episodes are only going to be an hour, maybe an hour and a half long. That's really not much time to play video games, which is really honestly about all the time that I have. Yeah, I miss playing video games. I enjoy it. I won't say it's always stressless, right? Any fans of the Destiny franchise, right? Which I'm known to have played a time or two. It can be a little stressful. Actually, that's deep. I don't know how to take care of myself. I take care of other people. If you haven't already, talk with your therapist about that. You almost kind of get to the point where what does Ashley like, right? What does Ashley like to do? If Ashley wasn't doing things for other people, what would she be doing? And based off of that statement, I feel like your answer is gonna be like, I really don't know. And it's not the worst thing in the world. You're a mom, right? You're a family person. That's not terrible, but it's okay to have some me time in there as well. Marita says, I walk, therapist time, and watch comedies. Walking's great. Exercise is really good. Even if it's nice little brisk walk. Preferably something to get the heart rate up a little bit is always good. But listen, if that little walk, even if and I'm not telling you to change it up. If that little walk you take, even if it's only 5 minutes and it feels to do the trick for you, just to help you to walk away from a situation, hey, have at it. Comedies is great. It's kind of that opposite action type thing. Basically, when you're feeling really upset about something, really angry about something, watch something that makes you laugh. I like to watch stand-up comedy. Shane Gillis, if you've never watched him, is one of my favorites right now. He's great. He's hilarious. Joey says, play sports. I think I'm going to get into trolling podcasts. Need to sharpen up my skills first, though. My last joke about the gym. Failed about the gym. Yeah, I didn't quite understand what you were... what you were saying with that one. I think I missed it a little bit. That's right. It's hard to do through chat, I will tell you that. Nate Bargatze. Yeah, I've seen him. I've seen his little skits on SNL when he's dressed as George Washington. That one's a pretty good one. All right, I like it. So to kind of round out this part of the state of self-care, a little kind of recurring segment that you'll see on this show is called off-brand thoughts, right? These are kind of what you would call hot takes, on whatever the subject matter might be. I'm going to tell you my hot take. Most people don't need more self-care. They need less self-neglect, right? Which I think some of what we're kind of talking about here, I don't want to say we're totally being neglectful of ourselves, but I think we all do it at least sometimes. Self-care isn't a problem. And it's not that people don't care about themselves. It's that they've been taught to kind of ignore their needs, override their emotions, and kind of hustle through the burnout like it's a badge of honor. We don't lack self-care strategies. We lack the permission to pause, which goes back to the boundaries that we were talking about previously. We don't give ourselves permission, right? I can tell you, and I'm sure ladies, I'm sure you go through this as well. But I know as a man, we've always been taught, not just from our families, but just taught in general in society, in entertainment, media, tuck your feelings down, tuck them away, right? Which is kind of another side of, what led me to kind of start this channel. Not that I'm some mushy guy that, wants to cry at everything. I do cry a little bit. I'm a little bit of a crybaby. But understanding that it's okay to have emotions. Emotions aren't a bad thing. It's the action that the emotion causes that can sometimes be the bad thing, right? So don't neglect yourself. Take care of yourself, right? You're worth it. You're loved. Probably by more than you think. All right. So that is the state of self-care as quoted by Bargain Brand Wellness, or BBW. I wonder if you guys got that reference. I kind of referenced it earlier, right? Talking about anxiety. The antidote for anxiety, right? You see here on my screen where it says control equals calm, right? The more you narrow your focus to what you can influence, the less space anxiety has to operate. Make a control versus concern list. On the left column, write down what you can control. In the right column, write what you're just worried about. Cross off the right column and burn it or shred it, whichever works for you. Most anxiety, right, is spent focused on things that are totally outside of our control, right? Especially at work, especially on the job, right? There's a lot of decisions made by a lot of people, right? And I know I have some friends that work for the same employer on here. I'm not just talking about that. I'm talking about everywhere in life. There's people that make decisions that are unfortunately outside of you, right? Doesn't mean they're right, but it happens, right? And that's where that kind of, many of you have heard about a term called radical acceptance. Can you be like, listen, I'll do the best I can. It is what it is. Basically, whenever you're kind of coming across those moments, that thing that's making you feel overly anxious, and I'm speaking to you to someone who is not an expert, right? I'm going to put this out there. I'm not an expert in any of this. I'm a student, just like most of you, which was the other reason for me to kind of start this channel. I wanted to learn from you. I wanted to share what I've picked up, right? But say to yourself, is this mine to carry? Right? Whatever this thing is that you don't agree with, that's stressing you out, is it mine to carry? If it's not, drop it like a bad habit and move on. Well, this is a good thing you're doing. My old bud has to get to bed. Night to all in here. Yeah, night, Marita. Thanks for stopping by. Have a good night's sleep. Yeah. Hopefully I don't regret 8:30. I don't go to bed that early, but 9:30, 10 o'clock is usually about my bedtime. I start feeling tired about then. Yeah. So focus on what you can control, right? Even when you're in chaos mode, there are levers that you can pull, right? Focus on what you can control. Your breathing. What you consume. Media, food, content. Who and how you respond. Right? Control what you can. Right? Take a moment, slow your breath. Right? 1 minute of intentional breathing kind of gives your nervous system kind of a chill out mode. And if you look online, there's 1,001 different types of deep breathing exercises you can try. All of them work in their own way. You just kind of have to find the thing that works for you, right? Just that you got to find that thing that works for you. There's box breathing, which is basically kind of drawing a box. You breathe in for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4, and then kind of just repeat that cycle a couple times. I've heard 4-5-7 breathing. I've heard of 4 square breathing, right? A lot of different types of breathing you can do. Like I said, they all work. You just got to find which one works for you. And then how you respond to someone or who you respond to. Not everything that comes at you needs a response. If it's something that, and I'm not trying to sound conceited with this one, if it's something that is beneath you or something that is meant to trigger you to get a reaction, why would you give that person that power, right? Keep your power, right? Keep it to yourself. Anxiety grows in the what ifs. Most anxiety is future focused. The other focused on things that haven't happened yet or have happened and can't be changed. Right? And think about that one for a moment. Most of the things that you're anxious about are not things that are happening right now in this moment. They're either things that will happen or have already happened and I can't do much about them. Doesn't mean your feelings about them aren't valid, but how much of your energy and time are you now going to give that thing that's already happened that you can't change? One method to kind of help yourself is anchor yourself to the present, right? Your senses live in the now, so use them to bring you back to the present. What do you see? What do you smell? What do you hear? Right? Get grounded. Right? Focus on those things. You can even go by what can I feel? What can I touch? Right? If appropriate, what can I taste? Right? Use that one as well. All great things. Creating some of those anchor points, right? Or also known as daily routines, right? These are also things that are kind of within your control. Right? Waking up at the same time every morning, journaling, brushing your teeth, maybe listening to that morning playlist, right? When everything in your life feels like it's chaos and is constantly shifting, these are the things that kind of can kind of help balance you out or anchor you, right? These rituals are not rigid routines, right? While routines are great, anxiety thrives on shame when you mess up. So as I mentioned before, sleeping in, right? Or maybe having that soda, when you've been trying to cut out soda in your life, or that candy bar when you've been trying to cut back sugar. It lives on the shame, right? So give yourself credit when you do well. Don't hate on yourself too bad when you mess up a little bit. Use every single moment as a learning moment, right? how did I, what happened that I wasn't able to stay on track today, that I wasn't able to kind of keep that ritual. There's a good chance there was something else that kind of interfered with that. I'm not saying don't take ownership for it, but figure out what that thing was so that you can avoid it, that trigger, the next time. And build moderation within those routines. Those, if you like your candy bar, if you like your soda, right? Build that into your routine. A soda once a week is not going to hurt anybody. Heck, a soda a couple times a week really isn't going to hurt anybody. Especially those zero sugar sodas, right? Those zero sugar sodas. I've never been a diet fan, but for, I've kind of fallen in love. I love Coke Zero. Coke Zero is my go-to, especially the cherry Coke Zero. And I've tried some of these other zero sugar sodas. They're great. I love them. Right. Michael Yost. Thanks for being on here, buddy. Use those DBT skills. I think some people could really use this. Listen, any of you guys who have heard me talk about DBT, right? I know it's kind of one of those no words where we talk about people aren't really into it. I'm telling you, if you give it time, if you can apply it to your personal life, you can love DBT. I applied it to my personal life and I saw a huge change in some of my relationships and just my overall anxiety. DBT isn't the problem, it's how we implement it, but I don't want to get too much into work stuff. Nope, soda's bad for you. It is bad. I won't lie to you. The phosphoric acid in Coca-Cola, it's one of the worst ones for you. It's been directly linked to osteoporosis. But I quit drinking alcohol. It's been, this year will be 3 years since I've had anything. I think the last drink I had a shot of tequila on my brother's birthday last August. That's the only drink I've had in the last couple of years, and I have to have something, right? I had to have something in there. So soda's my thing. Soda and ice cream. Summertime, I usually get an ice cream once a week. Those are my moderation points. Go DBT. Agree. Listen, you already know me, Ashley. I love DBT. I love it. I'm all on board. So, but anyway, create those anchor points. This can help kind of deal with some of that anxiety. Another off-brand thought here for you all. Anxiety is a survival skill. It just doesn't know when to clock out. Normalize anxiety as a natural, even useful response, but it's gone rogue. So I can tell you, for me, the reason I started going to therapy a couple of 3 years ago was for anxiety. I got diagnosed with ADHD throughout that as well, but it was for anxiety. And what I realized is I've been dealing with anxiety all my life. It just finally got to the point I couldn't handle it anymore. I've always been a huge overthinker. Anytime I know that I have something serious to discuss with someone or this really big event, I spend all this time in the world ruminating about all the different scenarios that could happen. That way I'm prepared for it, and I over prepare, and usually I'm well prepared for it, but I also created a lot of anxiety for myself. Anxiety, like I said, was a survival skill. Primitive, thousands of years ago, it was meant to avoid saber-toothed tigers. Now it's used for spiraling over unread emails, right? Or trying to figure out what emotion or what someone meant the way they sent that text or that message to you, right? Because we never really can. It's kind of hard to get someone's emotion or their paraverbals through the written word. Twisties was closed tonight. What the heck? I didn't know if they were back open yet. I guess they are open now. It's finally spring. Twisties is my go-to. We go there. They have these specialty Sundays. I can't remember how much they are. They're like $5 or $6. 2 people could probably share these, but if I'm really feeling it, I can eat a whole one by myself. Our favorite is their peanut butter overload. Vanilla ice cream, right? Whipped cream on top. Chocolate or hot fudge. Peanut butter syrup on top. and then crushed up Reese's peanut butter cups. Listen, I'm not even that big of a peanut butter person, but on desserts, oh, it's so good. And I can eat a whole one by myself, but I feel like crap afterwards. I would much rather share it. Anxiety is the worst. I battle this every damn day. Absolutely. And we all do. And like I said, it's not... I have a quote here for you guys. Anxiety is not the enemy. It's the overworked intern in your brain trying to keep you alive. But now she's panicking about your group chat. Right? And that's just one kind of minor example. Right? Anxiety isn't the bad. It's how we allow it to kind of run our lives. And it's probably something, that's internalized. It's probably something from, a couple years ago, maybe your childhood even. Right? It kind of runs rampant from time to time, unfortunately. Right? So anxiety. Now, one thing that doesn't help our anxiety, at least we think it does temporarily, is food. What we put in our bodies can definitely affect our mood. So kind of our last kind of segment that I kind of wanted to share with everyone on here is fast food culture, right? And I mean, we're going to talk about fast food, but I kind of wanted to talk about the idea of the unwritten rules that we follow and how we apply them to other places in our life. Waiting in line to get your food, right? Now, the image up here on your screen, it doesn't necessarily do it justice because usually most fast food places don't have these kind of lines set up. But we kind of stand single file behind one another, waiting to get this food that is quite frankly terrible for us. But where's it written, right? Where is it written that we have to stand in that line? We could just stand around in groups saying, yeah, here in the back, I'd like to have a number 1 large, right, with a Coke Zero, right? But no, we stand in these lines. We try not to ask too many questions because everyone's in a hurry. Fast food is go, 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 right? So we try not to ask too many questions because we don't want the person behind us to get upset. And we kind of just accept what's on the menu. I'm sure a lot of you have heard about these kind of secret menus that aren't even being that aren't posted anywhere, but you can get stuff. You can get different types of food that you wouldn't even know is possible. The one, and I still haven't tried it. McDonald's has is called the McGangbang, which is kind of a weird name. And I don't know if that's actually what you order when you go there, but it's basically, from what I was told, it's a McDouble and a McChicken. The burger and the chicken are together in between a bun. That's it. And I don't know. Guess it's good. I've never had chicken and burger together like that. Joey says, I don't get stressed easily or really at all. Not sure why. Joe, you do seem like a pretty calm and cool individual. I'd believe that. Wife says, I don't have any feelings. So you're like the Tin Man. I was dropped on my head as a baby. They said it was the first time I rolled. I don't know. I mean, are you being serious? Were you actually dropped on your head? I mean, it happens, I guess, but... Now it is kiosk or ordering on your app. It absolutely is. Yeah. I forget about those damn apps. I can't tell you. I have the Chick-fil-A app, and half the time I forget to scan the app. The other half of the time I forget to just load the receipt because I found out you could do that. And then even after I do that, I always forget to use my points and they end up expiring. I hardly ever go to McDonald's even though I have that app as well. But it's just interesting about the way you take this fast food culture and think about other areas of your life that you also do these things, these kind of unspoken rules in public for fear of kind of standing out, right, or being seen as odd. Simpson tried to order it. I got secondhand embarrassment sitting in the passenger seat. So he literally said, I want to McGangbang. Did he get it? Is that literally what it's called? Dropped on my head part was true. I'm sorry, Joey, but I'm glad you can laugh about it. So, I think what kind of got me thinking about this whole fast food culture was kind of the realm of instant gratification, right? We kind of rush through meals, we rush through decisions, we even rush through relationships, right? And basically every aspect of our life is a rush. And I'm not preaching to the choir here by any means. I'm the same way. If anybody ever watches me eat, I scarf down food very quickly. If it's good, you're not going to hear a peep from me. But you ever seen those movies? Usually it's usually Italian families sitting around the dinner table having conversation. Do any of you ever kind of, is that any of yours experience? I've never really had that experience. I'm not going to say there's no conversation, but I know I've seen that kind of in movies like The Godfather or other movies, and and I'm like, that'd be really cool just to sit around and take the time to savor and enjoy my food and enjoy the company that I'm with. But no, dinner time, is one of those that we're just kind of hurry up. We're kind of moving through real quickly, and then it's on to the next thing. All right, I'm going to play my video games. All right, I'm going to do my homework. I guess I'll clean up dinner. He said it a couple times to the girl running the drive-thru and then folded after an awkward pause. So apparently it is not called the McGangbang. I guess that's just the name that someone came up with. So I'm curious how you order that, or do you just order a McDouble and a McChicken and just put it together yourself? But leave it to Ryan Simpson to be the one to try it out. That's not surprising to me at all. Unfortunately, kind of this easy button culture, right? It kind of spills over into other aspects of our life, right? Quick fixes over root cause, right? Education, test scores over learning, and even your wellness, right? Aesthetics over the actual depth of it, right? Even now, since we're talking about self-care, any of you who are on TikTok, any of you who are on, any type of social media, and you get these different ads for all these different like new supplements, which we'll probably talk more on the next stream about, because there's a lot of good ones, but all these new things that this is the new health thing, right? I still remember some of you might be able to remember some of these from like 10, 15, maybe even 20 years ago. Some of the different types of exercise equipment that they used to put out. Anybody remember the shake weight? I had one. I had it at Walmart. The idea behind it makes sense because you're getting the resistance from it. But you looked funny doing it, and I don't know how much more effective it was rather than just lifting a weight. 6-second abs. I remember hearing about that one. It was this thing that kind of crunched down. It had these different little foam things you put in it that gave some resistance. Right. We're always looking for that easy button, that thing to make our lives just a little bit easier. Holiday and family gatherings, we do that. It's less of a rush and more for enjoyment and connection. Yeah, I guess I'd agree with that. Thanksgiving, I guess, that's kind of our main family meal. Yeah, it is kind of more of a sit down and enjoy. I know we started over the last year trying to do like kind of Sunday dinners. It's still enjoyable. It does still feel kind of like rushed, especially with, teenagers. Right, they're not really interested in kind of engaging with you, so they're like, all right, let me hurry up and eat so I can go back down and get on the game or go do something else. when my grandparents were living on, we did this on Sundays, and yes, everyone talked at the same time, but everyone knew what was being said, right? I came from a small family, so I never really experienced that loudness. I don't want to say it's weird to me, but it's kind of slightly awkward for me to kind of be in that situation because I didn't grow up with that. What about the thing that you put on your stomach and vibrate? It was supposed to make abs. Yeah, I remember that. I don't remember what it was called. I even remember the one machine from back in, the 50s or 60s. I remember seeing like the housewife, in her little dress. It was the machine that it had a band and it just kind of rumbled back and forth. I don't know if that was supposed to move her hips and get rid of love handles or what. I remember those were pretty, I just remember hearing about them being pretty popular, back in the day. Right. But yeah, a lot of different things we do that are to make our lives easier. And don't get me wrong, there are some that are effective, right? At least at some level. But not many of them. Not many of them. Talking about fast food and marketing, these things are designed to bring you in, to just kind of like a fisherman, right? I throw that nice colorful bait that's got that great smell. I just want to slowly tease you in, right? And then once you're on there, bam, I pull back on my rod and sink that hook into your mouth and reel you in a little bit. That's what they're meant to do. And it works. It's lights, colors, smells, right? Good commercials, which I don't know how good some commercials are nowadays. There's some really weird ones out there. But even thinking about McDonald's, right? If I just using that term and if you can kind of think about what a McDonald's looks like, your brain will kind of trigger that smell. You can smell the grease, the French fries in the air. Right? You can kind of hear the fizz of the fountain drink as it fills up. Even as I'm saying, I can kind of taste McDonald's Coca-Cola in my mouth because there's nothing like a McDonald's Coke, right? And if you didn't already know this, the reason McDonald's Coke is so good, there's actually a trick to it, is they get their Coca-Cola special order. They have something that nobody else has. They use these big metal containers to kind of control, or that carries the syrup, and I don't know if it's the way that it touched that metal does something to the taste, but it's 10 times better. Most restaurants, just because I used to work in a restaurant, get the big cardboard boxes that have the syrup in a plastic bag. That's most places that I've seen. But yeah, McDonald's has a leg up on everyone. That's why their Coke is so good. But marketing, it's meant to bring you in, and it works. If it didn't work, it wouldn't be so successful, right? People wouldn't constantly be trying to figure out ways to basically reel people in. So yeah, it's pretty effective. Sometimes you have to do fast food if you take kids in sports and busy a couple nights a week. I tell my kid there goes another $30 to $40 down the toilet. Listen, and I said this before, everything in moderation. Right? I also eat Chick-fil-A. I also eat McDonald's. At no point on this stream am I ever, if it ever seems like I'm preaching to the choir, I'll reevaluate, or maybe just kind of check my, maybe the context of kind of how I'm coming across, because I agree. I like Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A's, it's consistent. It's not the greatest thing I've ever had, but I've never had a bad chicken sandwich from there. Occasionally the fries might not be hot, but I don't like my food super hot anyway. Yeah, so I'm right there with you. I don't eat it much. Taco Bell, their chicken quesadilla, I can put down 4 of those suckers. I feel like crap afterwards, but I love every bite. The only problem with Taco Bell anymore, that you get the chicken quesadilla, all the chicken's in kind of the middle 2 pieces. You get the end piece and it's just cheese and the sauce, but the sauce is worth it. Chick-fil-A Cherry Coke is greater than McDonald's Coke. Don't get me wrong, I like Cherry Coke. I even like Chick-fil-A's Cherry Coke. Swear it is the best Cherry Coke, and don't get me started on their crushed ice. You know what? I was going to disagree with you, but I'll kind of give you that one. Your type of ice makes a difference. The type of container it comes in. You're probably not going to find it much anymore. And as much bad as it is for the environment, I miss styrofoam cups. Styrofoam cups with crushed ice, any soda, preferably Coke or Cherry Coke, best thing in the world. Best thing in the world. Yeah. Yeah, I was going to argue with you for a second, but then you said the crushed ice. Yeah, no, you're on to something. Vanilla Coke from Dietrich's is the bomb.com, and that's because they use the syrup. I just ate there earlier, right? You want to try something even better. If you like Cherry Coke, get them to put the cherry and the vanilla syrup in there. Yeah, that's pretty good, right? Yeah, definitely better with styrofoam. All right, and our kind of final off-brand thought for the night is fast food isn't unhealthy because of the food. It's unhealthy because of what it teaches us, right? We're not just consuming fries. We're consuming values, impatience, instant gratification, low standards, and emotional disconnection. Right? Maybe not all of us that are on here right now, or maybe any of you who are listening to the recorded version of this. But a lot of us use fast food or just unhealthy things as a way to kind of take those emotions and kind of push them deep down inside. We learn to accept what's given. We learn to eat what's easy. And eventually we apply that mindset to our relationships, our goals, and our worth. Little unfortunate. We talked, earlier about setting boundaries, and I agree. I think this kind of fast food culture mindset is the same type. I think a lot of men fall into this category. As long as it's edible, we'll eat it. It's not what I ordered, but I'm not going to send it back. I don't want to cause any problems, or I'm afraid that they might spit in my food because I complained. We just kind of eat it, but think to yourself, does that then apply to other aspects of your life? Do you kind of just go with the flow from time to time? Do you just kind of, because you don't want to stir the pot, you don't want to create any issues? Maybe. All right. Hey, Charles. Thanks for being here, buddy. You actually just got here. We're actually just kind of finishing up. I'm going to kind of give everyone a moment, see if there's anything else they want to add, but we're going to off. Twig XL in the house. Too bad he's almost done. Welcome. I don't know. I got to figure out this different thing because I can't see everyone who joins. I see I have so many viewers, but I can't really see who's here until they send me a chat. So, for any of you who didn't, communicate in chat, I still appreciate you all being here. Leave a like, right? This is our first stream, first of many. To anyone who's asked, no, the Brothers Chatter podcast is still going forward. This is kind of my own thing that I've been wanting to do for a while. Now I'd kind of talked, leave us with the cliffhanger. No, I've been kind of talking with my therapist about this because I'm back in school. For any of you who didn't know, I'm pursuing a bachelor's, or I guess eventually a master's in psychology. And I've really always kind of enjoyed wellness. I've been kind of on my own wellness path for the last, 16 years, right? I'll tell you what, I'll leave you guys on kind of what led me to my wellness journey. 2009, right? 2009, I was 130 pounds, right? For any of you who I know personally, I'll show you some pictures sometime if you haven't already seen them. I was 130 pounds. It's what, 26, something like that. Yeah, 26. And I went to the doctor because I thought I had a kidney infection. And it turns out my appendix was twice the size as what it should have been, right? Don't know quite what the cause was, but I went first thing in the morning, hadn't ate all day, right? And basically spent the next several hours running from doctor's offices to diagnostic centers to eventually sitting in a hospital for several hours and never actually seeing a surgeon. I hadn't ate in probably 10 to 12 hours. At that time, I still was a smoker. I hadn't smoked a cigarette in probably 8 hours. And I was very frustrated. So I checked myself out of the hospital. I did eventually end up going to see the surgeon to kind of talk with them. Never quite figured out what was going on with my appendix, why it was twice the size of what it should have been. And from that point forward, I have been kind of on a wellness journey. It hasn't always been perfect. I've went through some weird stages. I can share with some of you, I've made my own toothpaste before. I've bought all organic shampoos and soaps. I've been down that rabbit hole. I've tried a little different things. Many of you know I've done intermittent fasting. I've done 24-hour fasting. Many of you are also aware of me and my butter coffee, right? Butter and coconut oil, or keto coffee, which wasn't bad. It wasn't bad, but now I just drink it straight black. But yeah, so that one moment with my appendix, after that I quit smoking. Now I've started up a couple times since then, but I can say I'm coming up on, I don't know the exact date, but I know I'm coming up on 4 years of, or no, actually this will be 5 years. So yeah, I've lost track. 5 years of not having a cigarette. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I still miss it from time to time, but I know I can't go back because I'm a pack-a-day smoker, and with the price of cigarettes now, I'll never go back. So yeah, so that's kind of me and my wellness journey. I joined a little bit ago. I'll have to go back and watch from the beginning. Yeah, we kind of started talking about kind of the state of self-care as it is right now, and then actually I think you kind of joined around the anxiety part. I'm an OG of Bargain Brand Wellness. Should be getting my top. You put FAP. I hope you meant fan page soon. Add it to my accolades. There you go. We'll make once we get big, Joey, I'll make you a moderator. How's that sound? So kind of finish up. I have a little closing I'd like to share with you all. Kind of a way to kind of take something in with you to the abyss, into your wellness journey. And just like that, folks, we've hydrated, we've meditated, and we've speculated, and maybe even overshared a little. Thank you for joining us on this beautifully bizarre journey through the world of Bargain Brand Wellness, where self-care doesn't have to be expensive and weirdness is always welcome. If you laughed, learned, or just felt slightly less alone in all this chaos, mission accomplished. Be kind to yourself. Drink some water that didn't come from a vending machine. Or remember, healing isn't linear. It is cheaper on Wednesdays. We'll be back next time with more off-brand thoughts, more questionable advice, and more deeply discounted wellness vibes. Until then, stay hydrated, stay curious, and as always, let's make it worth your wellness. See y'all next time. All right. Love you guys. Be safe. Right. I will tell you, my plan was to stream on Friday evening. I don't know what app. Facebook for now, maybe. Eventually I want to do YouTube and TikTok. I've even considered maybe Twitch, which I know is more of a video game platform, but we may try different places to kind of get a little bit more of a reach. I don't know if I'll be doing it live Friday because that's when we're doing the podcast because of our schedules. I may still try to stream afterwards. So it might be a little bit later on Friday. So I'm thinking maybe 9:30, 10 o'clock. We'll kind of play it by ear. But if you're available, please check us out. Check out the Facebook group page. Right? All you have to do is join. I'm pretty sure I set it to you can just join it. You don't need permission. Where I'll kind of keep everyone updated. I've created accounts on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, X. So any social media, you should pretty much be able to find us. We have a landing page for a eventual mailing list. I don't know how much we'll get into that. It was just kind of a suggested towards us, but yeah, and yeah, I like it, Joey. But it's self-care on clearance. Self-care on sale sounds good, but self-care on clearance is kind of our slogan. But yeah. So thank you all for being here. I love you. I appreciate the support. Right, and yeah, I'll see you next time.